Hello again, everyone. Welcome to McEwen Gunstocks. You may have seen recent videos where I was working on this beautiful, colorful piece of Clairol walnut stock for an Air Arms S510, which is a pre-charged pneumatic air gun. Since then, I did not take you along with me on several hours of more finished work. Clearly, I still have more to do here, but I've got a lot done. Put it in the milling machine, finished opening up the inletting, drilled the through hole for the bolt, which came out perfectly on center. It's just like amazing. And not that that's unusual, but it's one of those high fear level operations that, you know, if it doesn't come out centered, it'd be a bummer. And in fact, I had so far to drill. If it was off a little bit, you know how I did it is I squared it in the milling machine, put this in the vise front side up, and used a square along the top of the forearm to the drill bit from two different directions, and it took forever, 15 or 20 minutes probably, adjusting until it was pretty square, and then drilled it halfway through, and I thought, you know what? I wonder if I shouldn't poke it through with a tiny drill bit and find out if it's on center and finish drilling it through from this side so I make sure it's on center. But, well, I just went for it. Just drilled it all the way through from this side and it came out dead perfect in the middle. But next time I do something this tall, I might rethink how I do that. But I got lucky again. Better lucky than good, right? Ah, that's not true. It was 20 minutes of jigging. It was probably more like a half hour because I did it and redid it several times. And when it was jigged perfectly, it can't help but drill square. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm rambling. So now we're going to glass bed it, and you've probably seen me on other videos glass bedding a spring gun action to a stock. And in those actions that recoil, same thing with a firearm, I like there to be no gap. Just a microscopically absolutely perfect fit. Years ago there was a video of a heavy recoiling spring gun, HW90 I think it was, gas ram, maybe it was a Theobin gas ram, well whatever, it in slow motion you can see the gun recoiling, the action is flying around in the stock, the barrel is waving around, then the pellet comes out. But the most impressive thing about it was how much the action was moving in the stock. So for heavy recoiling guns, I like it to have just a microscopically perfect fit to the wood so that the steel and the wood behave as one. But with a pre-charged gun where the recoil is just super minimal, I mean you can feel it, but and even in a heavy recoiling pre-charged gun, it's a gentle shove, it's not a sharp impact. And so I don't worry about that so much, but I do want to be able to bolt it in there to a hard surface, you know, so it's got a solid stop when I screw it down into the wood, and I want it to be neatly finished all the way around, and you know, on the ends I want this to be a nice, neat, tight fit, but not microscopically tight, because I don't know how much these things expand under pressure, but I like the idea of giving it just the clearance that the thin layer of packing tape provides. And also with a spring gun action, we're dealing with steel, and with pre-charged pneumatic guns we usually have a mix of materials going on. There's often plastic, and of course nothing will stick to that, but there's aluminum and there's steel, and so I like the idea of just covering it with plastic. It gives it just a, you know, I don't know how much it might be, a half a dozen thou of clearance in case there is some expansion that takes place with the action. I will get that solid stop I'm looking for when I bolt it down. It will have a nice clean look and finish. It will to the eye look like it's perfect. It'll just have a little microscopically really little bit of clearance, in case that's a good idea or not. I don't know. But that's what I'm doing. So I covered it in packaging tape, which is not a very easy task. It is not very neatly done around here, but it doesn't really matter. You'll see where I'm just going to put a few little dabs of resin. So I waxed all the parts that I might accidentally touch. When it's a client gun, I literally wax the whole darn thing. It takes a bit of effort to clean it all off afterwards, but I just want to make sure that there's no errant fingerprint get loose from me somehow onto the gun. So I waxed it with Partall number 2. I'm going to put that back. Oops, oh boy, that was close. These things barely fit. Yeah, it looks dangerous, doesn't it? Okay, so now I'm going to mix up the laminating resin. I'm using TAP Plastics marine grade resin, the 314. It's what I use in my composites work, and I'm going to be using the fast hardener, which is what they call 102. I'm going to be mixing it 4-to-1 by weight. I'm going to do that by tearing the weight of the cup on the scale, adding resin, taking that weight and multiplying it times 1.25, and then I'm going to add hardener until the scale tells me I am at that number. Then I'm going to mix in 3 powders. Some walnut sawdust that I created just by sanding a scrap piece of walnut on the end of the belt sander. And that's probably barely enough. Hopefully I don't have to run over there and go make more. It's mainly for color. Cabosil thixotropic silica. This thickens it. Oh, I'm looking for the thickness of stiff peanut butter. And then this is milled glass fibers, which gives it some additional strength. And it's probably not necessary, but I've got it, so why not use it? So here we go. Turn the scale on with the cup on there. That tears it, so it reads 0. And I'm reaching up here to the resin bottle. And it is warm in here, so we're going to have to work quick. And now do just a little more. Alright, so got 8.3 times 1.25 equals, let me try that, 8.3 times 1.25 equals 10.375. You saw I just touched the scale. Let's just keep it alive. 10.375 is what I'm looking for. Because you know the battery will shut off after a while. Oh boy, that's just a tiny bit extra, so I'm just going to add a couple extra drops of resin. This stuff is coming out like water. You can be 10% off and have very passable results. Extra hardener is not as bad as not enough. Alright, we're going to have to work quick because you know, the newly insulated shop is fantastic. It's been running 6 degrees cooler in the shop than the rest of the house. And as most of you know, prior to doing it, it was a solar cooker with a tar and gravel roof, 3/4 inch plywood, and my head. Alright, we're just going to put in a dollop of powders. I'm going to just put in a dollop of all of them and mix it up. I'm going to do this by folding it in, trying to keep it from getting up in the air. Typically I'm wearing a respirator, but I can't do that and talk, so I'm just going to be careful. Also, sometimes what I do is walk with it on the side of me and slowly walk, so I'm leaving the powder in my wake. These powders are very heavy, they fall immediately out of the air. And that looks like a pretty good mix right there. I'm just going to stiffen it up a tiny bit more. Yep, I'm really glad I got it so close on the first try, because the heat isn't going to give me a lot of working time. And there we go. Hopefully you can see that's pretty stiff. That's what I want right there. Okay, so now I'm going to load up one side of the stick like that, and I'm going to put that into the side of the forearm by rolling it in. So I'm just going to roll that in, and I better pick up the pace here a little bit. I can't work that slow. We will not make it. I'm going to put a dollop right there next to the bolt and all along this edge. Oh, that's a little bit thick there on the stick. That makes it a little hard to roll in there. It's looking good. Alright, looking really good. Okay, gotta really pick up the pace here. Okay, just going to keep applying this. I'm going to apply it kind of thick around the end, which I have to shape the end here yet. So I'm just going to give plenty here, so when I shape it round, it'll it won't reach air. Okay, let me fix that. There, I want it lined up on the stick like that. That was a little bit messy, but that's okay. And work my way down here. Quick, quick, quick. I hope I mixed enough. It's looking a little thin. There we go. Doing good. Doing good. Boy, the cup's getting warm. I could have used medium hardener because of the temperature, but I am anxious to keep moving on this stock. Ooh, there's a nice load right there. So, not all the way around the stick, just on one side, and that way you can just place it right where you want it without making a big mess. Here we go, another good application on the stick, and we're almost done. It's getting pretty warm now. And now you're just going to do a little bit back here, even though my tape job is really messy and it's not going to be very tidy, but we'll see what we get. I'm going to take a little bit out of there and put it right there. Yep, I like that. Yeah, I'm just running underneath my bead and just tidying it up. Looks really good. Yep, starting to get a little stiff. If you get stiff where you can't work it, quit. Get the action in. If you have to, finish the job in a second application. Alrighty. Look at that, I cut it pretty close, but we got enough. Just want another little dab right there. And another little dab right there. And yep, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm going to put just a little bit right there on the side of the trigger guard opening. Just another little hard spot. And another little spot right there. And now I'm going to take all the extra I have and put it up on the front just to make sure I've got enough here. And I'm sorry I'm probably out of the camera. I can't stop and look at it. So I just got to keep moving. Yeah, that looks like it's going to be really good. That'll squish all up in there. And we're good to go. We'll clean that up in a minute, assuming I don't forget and ruin another piece of dowel. And we're just going to stick this in here. Sure we are. As soon as I wipe that right there. Right there. You see why I worry about errant fingerprints. I'm getting to it. Got to use a little cut finder here. You guys wouldn't know anything about that, would you? Only you tool users out there. Yowza. Okay, here we go. Alright. We're squished. Got a wax bolt. Stick it in there. Tighten her up. Wash my fingers a little better. Let it cure. That shouldn't take too long. Oh yeah, it's getting a nice squish. Nice. Nice. See how I release it and I can see it pop out of the wood. A little tighter. Yeah, I think I'm happy right there. Yeah, I think I like that right there. Now I've got, I probably should have made a custom piece, but here's a couple of pieces of, I guess it's 1/4 by 3/8 or 1/4 by half spruce sticks from the hobby store. That's another endeavor. And I like to just stick that right here along the side of the forearm and use that as a visual gauge to the top of the, in this case the air tube would be my gauge, that we are pretty much level in the stock. I've got another piece here, because it would have been nice if I cut a piece that was big enough, but with two of them, one on top of the other, squished down onto the top of the forearm, this actually lines up pretty close to the top of the air tube. And also shine a light underneath so I can see into the gap between the air tube and the barrel. Yep, and I can see that we are level in the stock. You know, the action isn't tipped up or down in relationship to the top of the forearm. So that's a good deal. Wipe off my special stick. And my stir stick. You know, one thing that is always on my mind with this work, and I am certainly open to your guys' opinion. You can comment in the comments area if you like on this. I mean, I get it that there's, well, what I'm thinking about is money. What is this work worth? And I get it that if I charge a price that's worth it to me, but it's not worth it, you know, to do the work, but it's not worth it to anybody else to buy it at that price, then there is no business. And I think what we saw in the past with people doing air gun stock work is they charged a price that they felt the market could bear. And they and I did get business at that price. But it's not sustainable. You who have watched my videos know it is a ton of labor to work like this. We're not talking computerized. We're not talking Boyd's gun stocks for $150 or something. They put it in their $1.5 million machine, 6 at a time, and churn them out in a half hour with laser precision perfection. Of course, those stocks have horrible ergonomics. They won't do something custom for you, which is what I do. They're not going to cut it into a $1,000 piece of walnut, because after all, I'm sure they have a lot of wastage from, you know, machine errors and mistakes and stuff. They're not going to put fancy wood at risk. You send them a $1,000 piece of wood, right? They can't replace it if there's a screw up. So I'm at the different level. I do custom work and fancy custom, you know, beautiful, not custom, but, you know, beautiful one-of-a-kind pieces of wood. Here, I'm just looking at this, and you can maybe see here the epoxy bulging out there. That's perfect. I just want to let it cure like that. Don't try to wipe it off. Just leave it nice and thick. And you know, I'm going to work the top of the forearm a little bit though while we talk, because so the other thought process on this though is, you know, I do other things for a living. I would like gun stock work to become my living. I love doing it. I think I have a pretty good skill level with it. You know, I kind of wish I had a little extra epoxy here, because, oh, I got it, no problem. Alright, sorry about that interruption. The girlfriend came into the shop for a minute. So I ended up stealing a little bit of epoxy from the front where it was thick and put it along the top of the forearm, and I used squeegee to ply it and just squish it down into the top of the forearm. It was just a little bit light in one spot, so I went ahead and went along the top of the forearm on both sides and just made sure that it was pretty well squished in there, and we'll see what we get. It's never a problem to do a second application if you pull it out and you're not happy with it. But you know, I was talking about the value. So when the last fella dropped out at like the $400 or $450 level or whatever ridiculously low price it is we used to charge, and you know, I charged it right along with everybody else. There were I've been at this, I don't know, maybe a dozen or 15 years or more, and there have been a lot of people come and go through the airgun world, you know, with cottage industry, custom gun stock making, and I just don't think the price is sustainable. I mean, you see what it takes me. It's at least 100 hours. I think it's probably more than that. Now that I'm filming more regularly, I'm hoping that's going to help me really pin down exactly the time, but it's a lot. And I don't know what you guys are willing to do, you know, for, I don't know, $1,000, right? I know a woman who's cleaning houses. She makes $1,000 a day. You know, cleaning houses. That's like, I'm sure she's skilled and she has education. I don't mean to denigrate her work, but I'm sure you all know plenty of people who are out there. Maybe they don't work doing it every day. I get that, right? This house cleaning woman, she's not getting rich by any means, and she does focus on higher end stuff. She's in my business club. But I ought to be worth $1,000 a day, and doing gun stock work at my current price, I would say I make $1,000 a month. I could probably do a couple or 3 stocks a month the way I'm doing them, but I don't get those kind of orders, and I'm not going to make a living at it. So there's one of the firearm people that, well, I'm currently matching the least expensive guy in the firearm world that I've been able to find that works by a similar process that I do, Canyon Creek gun stocks. My prices are exactly the same as his, or were, I don't know, a year or two ago. Maybe I should double check what he's charging now. I mean, everybody's raising their prices on everything because it just costs so much to live. Costs to turn the lights on in the shop, or buy router bits and burrs, and sandpaper is expensive. I probably spend $50 on a gun stock and sandpaper alone, and finishing oil, and it's expensive to do any endeavor. So I got to change up one part of what I'm doing though, because I get inquiries from people and they talk and talk and talk about their project, and I want to engage them. I want to bring them down the rosy path so that they fall in love with me and they fall in love with the project, and then they find out how much it's going to cost, and oh well, I really want it. Well, that doesn't work. And I keep expecting people to have actually read my website, to have read the pricing page before they pick up the phone. I never ask anybody about the price of a service if I'm not already educated on its value and am prepared to spend the money. I'm not going to waste somebody's time. And frankly, you know, at the last Pacific Airgun Expo, I asked a fellow the price of a gun, and he gave me a fair price, and I was like, oh dang, in my head I was just kind of window shopping and just kind of curious, but I asked, so I bought it, because that's how I am. I think that's how a lot of men are. If you're going to ask the price for something, you better be ready to be a customer. So I'm going to have to start right when people call, yeah, I'm interested in a gun stock for this gun. Well, that's great. Do you know it's going to cost you $1,500 to $2,000? And that'll just save me a ton of time right there. Although maybe I won't enjoy, I mean, I do enjoy the conversations I have with people talking about different actions and what they do with it. I mean, I get all that, it's fun, but my time is valuable also, and I got paying gun stock customers that I should be working for instead of John with somebody on the phone that has no money for their gammo, right, or whatever, which I'm exaggerating. You'd be surprised though the inquiries I get from people for custom gun stocks, and frankly sometimes I think they're youths, you know, they want to play like an adult, but they're not there yet, and that's cool, and I want to give people all the time in the world that they want to spend, but I'm just thinking that I'm not getting any orders. This one's for myself, and it was a warm-up for a paying customer that I have to do, and I got to tell you, this is my other thought process on this, that I get virtually no orders at $11.55. Which is what I'm charging for a sporter gun stock, plus the price of the wood. It's a finished gun stock, the recoil pad. There's no mystery costs. You want to add on some goodies or some bling, you know, that's some extra labor or materials cost. But basically, you're looking at $11.55 for a sporter gun stock, and it's a couple $100 more for a thumb hole, just because there's extra work with the extra curves. But nonetheless, the guys that are paying me, maybe 4 or 6 of them a year, I think they might be the kind of guys that would pay $5,000 as well as $1,000, and I'd really rather be making $5,000. So there is another guy in the gun stock world who works exactly by the process as I do, in Canyon Creek, I believe he's using some CNC machines to assist him in the creation of his work. There's a little bit of manual, old-fashioned stuff involved with what he does because it is custom, but I also think he's utilizing some technology to help make it efficient. But there is a fella that probably shouldn't use his name, but he's up here in the Northwest, and his work starts at $5,000, and he's got a multi-year backlog. I know I need to get into the firearms space, and maybe I could find that kind of business, but I'm just thinking in the airgun world, I'd like to get $5,000. It's a lot of work. You know, I can do other things to make money a whole lot easier sitting on my butt in front of the computer, because that's what I do for a living, is web work. But so it is. I've been just kicking it around that since I'm basically not getting any orders at $1,000, why don't I just charge what I want? Because I think the few people that pay the $1,000 will probably pay the $5,000 too. So anyway, or as well, I should say. So I'm open for your guys' input. I want to do enough airgun stock work to be able to fulfill a need in my favorite hobby. You know, there's left-hand shooters. I absolutely love doing lefty stocks for people because why should your enjoyment in your favorite sport or hobby be minimized because you're left-handed? And so too bad being left-handed is going to cost more money. But as a result, you get the pride of ownership. You get something that absolutely fits you perfectly and fits how you shoot. And that's the beauty of having a custom gun stock. And then, of course, this gorgeous wood that I work. And I need to go to the mill and get some more wood. I'm getting a little low of wood in the price range most people like. Typically like $200 to $500 is what people like to spend on wood. Well, when I go to the mill, I got to be prepared to drop it $3 or $4 grand and, you know, get some wood. I don't mark it up much, a little bit, but I mean, the beautiful Claro walnut is expensive, guys. I mean, go look on eBay. You'll see a lot of crap out there for high dollar. And even look on some of the walnut gun stock blank provider websites, some of the mills. You know, I go to the mill in person, I buy in bulk, I pick through the rough cut stuff, so I get it a little bit more attractively priced. But go look at what's out there. I mean, figured stuff is $1 grand. So, anyway, those are just my thoughts on it. This guy is going to cure here for a few hours or more. Maybe I'll wait till morning to pop it. We'll see. It's pretty warm. It might cure by late this evening. But now I'm going to turn my attention over to this HW95 American Classic shape. It's a fully figured piece of walnut. I can't wait to show you guys it going into the machine. And so I will be right back with you pretty soon. Peace, guys.